Hi, and welcome to Fall Asleep with Henrik. I'm Henrik, and you're sleepy, and it is what it is. What happens, happens. And right now, there's nothing we can do. Let's go. Hi, sleepy. Hi, and welcome back to my humble abode. I am at the moment wearing a black t-shirt, and I just thought that you should know that going forward. I'm sorry. I never know how to start. Once I get like a few minutes in, stuff seems to be easier to maneuver, But initially, it's like being alone in a dark room, or rather, just, if you can imagine this forest lake in the middle of the night, pitch black, just stars above, and the trees just majestically reaching for the skies like walls or pillars in a castle ballroom around you. And then this hardly even visible forest pond. And, well, I don't want to be explicit, but you are without clothing in this scenario because of the vulnerability that comes along with it. And you just you just step into the pond and you start to swim, and you don't know what you will encounter. You don't know the feeling of it until it happens, The same thing is when I start to talk in my, whatever this is, a podcast that is meant for you to fall asleep. I am aiming to put you to sleep without trying to put you to sleep, if that makes sense. So I'm wearing a black t-shirt, and let's not make anything else out of it. A fun thing to do if you want to confuse people is to say obvious, very everyday things and imply that there is something else to it, Like, I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I just thought that you should know that. Then some part of your brain will start processing, what does that mean? What is it about his black t-shirt that is even worth mentioning? And how does that affect us going forward? Weren't he supposed to put me to sleep? Why does he start with this? No, I really think it's funny to do that sometimes. And often people don't get it. Well, they shouldn't. I mean, that's the reason. Sometimes when people ask me how I'm doing, I feel tempted, and I often do answer, yeah, right now it's good. No, that's not the correct translation. I'm fine, but you never know. Like that, I say. Like in Swedish, that would be, how are you doing? Hur mår du? And then I answer, ja, nu är det bra. Eller, right now it's good. Like, but that's now. You never know. In a second or two, things can happen. Things can change. And people almost never really pick up on the joke, because it's not really a joke, is it? It's just weird. I love to be weird. I love to say stuff that doesn't really belong in any particular situation. I I love to invent dimensions into everyday events. I love to put hidden worlds into stuff. I am fascinated with small areas of the world. Like, it can give me goosebumps when I think about like small spaces between. Oh God, now the language barrier is apparent. Like if you look up in the roof and it's like if you look up in the roof and you're in this office, for instance, then you have like all sorts of wiring and ventilations and stuff going on up there. And maybe there's this part of the ventilation that are uncovered. So it's this pipe, this silvery pipe that runs over a certain segment of the roof. And then I can and then I can just lose myself into like a certain area of that, the upper side, invisible to me, of that pipe. Like somewhere up there, it's probably a lot of dust and maybe some unseen wiring. But there can also be like this, there is also that this whole world that no one ever sees. And the reason we never see it is because it's quote unquote unimportant to us. We don't need to see that, but it's there, you know? And that really gives me goosebumps because I love hidden worlds because it brings value to everyday boring moments. And the same is whenever I meet people and I feel bored for some reason, I tend to spice up the conversation with stuff like this. I think you should know that I am wearing a black t-shirt, and let's just not make anything else out of it. We don't need to, we can stop here. We don't need to develop this scenario further because that creates all sorts of connotations and associations within you. And then my value of said discussion or conversation or community becomes more valuable. Does it make sense? I hope I never lose that because that's really sometimes the only thing that keeps me going. The thing that I could put soul and meaning into meaningless. Well, it's not meaningless. Nothing is really meaningless, or for that matter, meaningful. What is meaningful? What is meaningless? I mean, it's impossible to say. What is meaning? What is purpose? It's up to us, really. Yeah, I got lost in my own mind for a while. When I was younger, there was this child in our family. That child is now a grown up, but when she was a child, we were we were out in the woods. I guess the whole family walking, and she was looking around as children do, very curious about stuff going on. And I said, "Look, do you see it's a naiad? It's a spirit standing over there. Do you see behind the birch tree just over there, there's this ancient woodland entity, a fairy tale figure. Can you see it? It's a troll. Maybe it's a troll." And she looked like she was really almost like struck by lightning. It was so intense. She really saw or tried to see the fairy tale mythic creature standing there behind the birch tree. And then there was this older person in my family who said,